My sister abandoned her 3 kids and now mom wants me, the child-free sister, to raise them in my new house. I never thought I'd be writing this, but here I am, caught in the middle of what has become the biggest family drama of the year. Actually, scratch that, the biggest family drama ever. Let me give you the full picture of how my seemingly perfect sister managed to turn everyone's lives upside down. My name is Sarah, and my sister Lisa has always been the golden child in our family. Growing up in our modest suburban home in Minnesota, I watched as she got away with literally everything. When she totaled Dad's car at 17? They bought her a new one within a month because she learned her lesson. When she dropped out of college after 3 semesters because she found herself? Mom and Dad supported her brave decision. Meanwhile, I was busting my ass maintaining a 3.8 GPA and working part-time at the local diner to help pay for my textbooks. The pattern continued well into our 20s. Lisa met Jason at a mutual friend's barbecue when she was 28. He was this successful construction company owner who seemed to have his life completely together. Mom nearly fainted with joy when they got engaged after just 6 months of dating. See, Sarah? Lisa knows what she wants and goes for it. Yeah, thanks, Mom. I was too busy building my career in marketing to chase after every guy with a nice smile and a steady income. Their wedding was, of course, the event of the decade. Mom and Dad spent what was probably supposed to be their retirement fund to give Lisa her dream wedding at the Minneapolis Convention Center. 300 guests, a designer dress, and a honeymoon in the Maldives. I was the maid of honor, forcing smiles through the endless toasts about how Lisa was finally settling down and how Jason was so lucky to have found such a perfect woman. The kids came quickly after that. First Emma, their daughter, who's now 8 and is basically a mini Lisa, right down to the way she can charm her way out of trouble. Then came Max at 6, who's actually a sweet kid when he's not having one of his famous meltdowns. Finally, there's little Tommy, 4 years old and probably the most easygoing of the bunch. For years, I watched Lisa play the role of the perfect suburban mom. She was on the PTA, organized bake sales, and somehow always managed to look like she'd stepped out of a Target commercial. Jason's business was doing well. They had a beautiful 5-bedroom house in one of those fancy developments, and their Christmas cards looked like something out of a magazine. Meanwhile, I've been grinding away at my marketing job, plus picking up freelance work on the weekends. Every family gathering was the same. Sarah, when are you going to settle down? Or your biological clock is ticking. Or my personal favorite from Aunt Karen, you know, being career-focused is fine in your 20s, but you don't want to end up alone. When I finally saved enough for a down payment on my house, it was after 5 years of living with a roommate who had questionable hygiene habits and an unhealthy obsession with reality TV. My new place isn't anything special, a modest 3-bedroom ranch-style home that needs some TLC, but it's mine. I remember the day I got the keys. I walked through each room, planning where everything would go, imagining finally having a space that was all my own. I should have known it wouldn't last. The first crack in Lisa's perfect facade appeared at Easter dinner this year. She seemed distracted, checking her phone constantly and barely touching her food. Jason kept trying to engage her in conversation, but she gave only one-word answers. Mom, of course, didn't notice anything wrong, or if she did, she chose to ignore it. Then came the summer barbecues where Lisa and Jason would show up separately, with Lisa leaving early because she had a headache or the kids had homework. Anyone with eyes could see something was off, but our family has always been excellent at playing pretend. The real bombshell dropped 3 weeks ago. I was at home, finally unpacking the last of my kitchen boxes, when I got a text from Lisa, "I can't do this anymore. Tell Mom I'm sorry." At first, I thought she was being dramatic as usual. But then Jason called me, sounding more panicked than I'd ever heard him. Lisa had packed a small suitcase, taken their joint credit card, and left. No note, no explanation, just gone. The kids were at school, and she didn't even wait to say goodbye to them. Jason, who I'd always seen as this confident, put-together guy, sounded completely lost. "I don't know what to do, Sarah. I have meetings all week I can't reschedule, and the kids. God, how do I even tell the kids?" That's when the great family scramble began. Mom and Dad immediately jumped into damage control mode. Dad took time off from his dental practice to help with school pickups. Mom practically moved into Jason's house, cooking meals and trying to maintain some sense of normalcy for the kids. Jason's cousin Amy offered to help with weekends, but she has 3 kids of her own, so it's not exactly a perfect solution. And where was Lisa during all of this? Well, thanks to social media, we all got front row seats to her journey of self-discovery. There she was at a yoga retreat in Sedona, looking peaceful and zen. Then came the posts from some beach in Mexico, cocktail in hand, with captions about finding herself and living authentically. She even had the audacity to post one of those inspirational quotes about how sometimes you have to choose yourself first. The kids, meanwhile, are a mess. Emma, being the oldest, understands more than she should. I visited them at Mom's house last weekend, and she asked me, "Did Mommy leave because of something I did?" It took everything in me not to cry right there. Max has started having anxiety attacks at school, and Tommy's reverted to wetting the bed. That's when Mom dropped her brilliant solution on me. I was in the middle of assembling my new IKEA couch, a task that was already testing my patience, when she called. "Sarah, honey, we need to talk about a solution for the kids." I should have seen it coming, but I was still blindsided when she demanded, that I take them in. The conversation quickly devolved into her usual guilt trip tactics, complete with gems like family takes care of family and this is what sisters do for each other. When she hit me with that line about not having kids or anything else to focus on, I lost it. 20+ years of being compared to Lisa, of being made to feel like my choices were somehow less valid because they didn't involve marriage and babies, just came pouring out. "Are you kidding me?" I yelled into the phone. "I've spent years working my ass off to build my life, and now I'm supposed to put everything on hold because Lisa decided to have her eat, pray, love moment? Where was all this family loyalty when I needed help with college tuition? Or when I was working double shifts to save for this house?" Mom's tears have always been her nuclear option, and right on cue, she started sobbing about how she didn't raise me to be so selfish. That's when I really went off. Selfish. Selfish. Lisa abandoned her children. She's posting bikini pics from Mexico while her 4-year-old cries himself to sleep. But I'm the selfish one because I don't want to become an instant mom to 3 traumatized kids. The family group chat exploded after that. Cousin Rachel, who's always been Team Lisa, started sending passive-aggressive messages about stepping up in times of crisis. Uncle Mike, surprisingly, defended me, saying it wasn't fair to expect me to become an instant parent. Aunt Karen, in her infinite wisdom, suggested we all pray about it. Jason, for his part, hasn't asked me to take the kids. He's been surprisingly understanding, just trying to keep his head above water. He's had to cut back his work hours, which means the business is suffering. I've been helping where I can, picking up Emma from dance class, grabbing groceries for them, staying with the kids for a few hours when Jason has important meetings. But there's a big difference between being the helpful aunt and becoming a full-time surrogate mother. Last night, Lisa finally broke her social media silence about the situation. She posted this long, rambling message about how motherhood shouldn't define a woman and how she needed to find herself outside of being a wife and mother. The comments were split between her mom friends expressing support for her bravery and others calling her out for abandoning her family. I made the mistake of reading it while having coffee with my friend Beth, who's been my voice of reason through all of this. You know what's crazy? I told her, if I had pulled something like this, Mom and Dad would have disowned me. But because it's Lisa, they're making excuses for her. It's always Lisa's going through a hard time or we need to support Lisa's journey. Beth, bless her, just looked at me and said, "You know you're not wrong for protecting your boundaries, right? Your sister made her choices. You're not responsible for fixing them." But it's not that simple, is it? Because while I'm standing my ground about not becoming their full-time caregiver, I can't help but feel guilty every time I see those kids. Yesterday, I stopped by Jason's house to drop off some dinner I'd made. Stress cooking is my new hobby, apparently, and Tommy ran up to me, wrapping his little arms around my legs. "Auntie Sarah, are you going to leave too?" he asked, and I swear I felt my heart crack a little. I picked him up and promised him I wasn't going anywhere, that I'd always be his aunt and I'd always be there for him. But I also know that's different from being their mother, which is essentially what Mom is asking me to be. This morning, I got another series of texts from Lisa. For the first time since she left, she wasn't posting inspirational quotes or beach photos. Instead, she sent, "I know everyone hates me right now, but you're the only one who might understand. Don't you ever feel suffocated by their expectations?" I haven't responded yet. Part of me wants to unleash years of pent-up resentment about how she's always been the family favorite, how she's always gotten away with everything. Another part of me remembers the sister who, despite being the golden child, would sometimes sneak into my room late at night when we were teenagers to share secrets and dreams. But right now, as I sit in my half-furnished living room, surrounded by moving boxes and IKEA instruction manuals, I can't help but feel angry. I worked so hard for this little piece of independence, this home that's finally mine. Why should I have to give it up because Lisa couldn't handle the life she chose? The kids are at Mom's house tonight, and Jason's cousin has them for the weekend. Mom's still not speaking to me directly, instead sending updates about the kids through Dad, who's trying his best to stay neutral but failing miserably. The last message I got from him read, "Your mother means well, honey. We're all just trying to do what's best for the kids." And that's the heart of it, isn't it? Everyone's trying to do what's best for the kids, except for the one person who should be putting them first. Lisa's latest Instagram post shows her at some wellness retreat in California, talking about healing generational trauma and breaking toxic patterns. Meanwhile, I'm left wondering how we got here, how my sister became someone who could walk away from her children, and how I became the villain for not wanting to clean up her mess. So here I am, stuck between my desire to help my niece and nephews and my need to protect the life I've worked so hard to build. The family's split down the middle, Lisa's off finding herself, and I'm somehow the bad guy for saying no to becoming an instant parent of 3. Am I being cold? Selfish? Maybe. But after years of being the responsible one, the one who always did what was expected, maybe it's time I put myself first too. The difference is, I'm not hurting anyone by doing it. I'm just trying to maintain the boundaries I've worked so hard to establish. The irony isn't lost on me that Lisa, who's always had everything handed to her, is now being celebrated by some for being brave enough to choose herself, while I'm being condemned for making the same choice in a much less destructive way. Emma's dance recital is next week. I'll be there, cheering her on from the audience, helping Jason record it for when Lisa eventually decides to check in on the life she left behind. I'll keep being the best aunt I can be, but I won't set myself on fire to keep others warm, not even for family. And maybe that makes me the black sheep of the family, but you know what? I'm starting to think that's not such a bad thing to be.